Alright friends, welcome back to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. This YouTube channel is dedicated to helping you players out there dominate your game in Bannerlord through the use of advanced battlefield tactics. This entire series basically is dedicated to military tactics, formational control in Bannerlord. In this episode, we're going to have another of our freestyle episodes. I'm shooting these episodes live, so I'm never quite sure what's going to happen. But we've had a new change in the campaign. We are now at war with Sturgia as well. More accurately, is they want to fight with us as well. These fucks are joining the other 7 kingdoms that are all at war with us. For a long time, Sturgia's been neutral, but they declared war, and just out of sheer rage, I've decided just to rip their armies apart in a few battles, sort of to teach them a lesson and lower the amount of tribute that they're demanding for peace. So I'm going to go ahead and gather some reinforcing armies here. This will be part of our freestyle series, in which I sort of take on each battle, each unique encounter, live, and using our tool bag of tricks, of tactics. Right. The purpose of this channel is to illustrate the use of different tactics. And there is, okay, 1, 2, 3. This is fucking 4 armies. And another castle under siege. So another thing that's happening in this campaign at this stage is we're down to 3 cities and 3 or 4 castles, and so the enemy is quite literally running out of targets. We're going to bring in all of the reinforcements for this. The enemy is literally out of targets. I can't tell if the Khazate is just passing through here or about to attack, but this is an all hands on deck situation. This castle with its lightly defended garrison seems to be just a red flag to a bull, and the enemy is just drawn to this like college students to a titty bar. So they're pouring in. We're going to have a huge battle, and this freestyle series, these videos will all be shot live, or mostly shot live. I may do some narration in later on for some of them, but we're going to basically try to use different tactics to handle very difficult situations, using a diverse variety of these advanced tactics. Right, you can sort of consider these battles your shoot from the hip type battle. So I got, it looks like 2 or 3 other castles under siege, and I just kind of adding the numbers up on my head looking at this force, it looks like we're up against like 5,000 enemies here. The largest battle I ever fought was against like 40, maybe it was like 5,200 Asurai once, and that was a bitch battle. This looks like it's a similar amount. So what I'm actually going to do here, I'm going to overload my group, overload my army. You can see my maximum troop capacity for this hero, Zuvan, is 427. This is one of my last key citadels here, Epicrotia. We have, a nice sized garrison here with very elite troops. What I'm doing is I'm going to overload my army, right? And what I mean by that is go well over the limit. Now, unless you're brand new to the game, you know that this will cause deserters, right? If you have too many troops for your capacity, these guys basically fucking take their weapons and I guess they go home, right? They're not interested in fighting if it's too crowded and feels like a Tokyo subway. So still, you get deserters. Basically the game mechanics, it's like every day, 24-hour day period, and it's typically about a third or a quarter of your overcapacity. So I'm about 120 or 130 over the limit here, which means I will get a significant amount of deserters, but I'm willing to take that chance. It's not going to be so many deserters that it devastates our forces. In other words, I might lose 30 or 40 guys, but that's far outweighed by the fact that I'll be adding, hopefully 100 total guys. These guys here were just raiding this village. We're going to go ahead and just auto-resolve this small battle before we get on with the main battle. And then I've got to gather these reinforcements here, as the size of this force is just going to dictate that every army that I can call within reach. Again, to quote the Gary Oldman quote in the movie The Professional, where they're at the end and they're all trying to attack the assassin, and he asks his friend, he says, "Benny, give me everyone." And his friend Benny goes, "Everyone? What do you mean to everyone?" "Everyone!" Because we're gonna need them all for this kind of battle. Holy fuck. 6,800. Well, we've tackled some audacious hosts before, but this will be the largest. We're going to gather these reinforcements here. I've lowered my player damage just because this battle probably will be a 45-minute battle, and there's no way that Even if I was riding a horse wielding a shield the whole time, I'd be able to stay upright. I want to be able to show epic battles like this. So the rest of my troops, of course, everything's on normal, hardest difficulty, but we're going to reduce the main player damage a little bit. And this army here is cut off. This gal with her 262 forces is not going to be able to get to us and help us with this battle. I actually see fucking more enemy forces pouring in. So ironically, while I'm getting reinforcements, so is the enemy. And of course, when you're fighting so many enemies, you know, you can get into a situation where the longer you wait for a battle to take, the more enemies there are. So let's see if it's gotten worse here. I like to fight in daylight. It looks like it's going to be a little bit dark if I fight right now, but we can always 7,300, right? So you want some epic battles here, folks? How about outnumbered 3-1 against 7,300 troops? We're going to gather every reinforcement here, every prisoner. We're asking the cooks to wield swords, the chambers maids, after they're busy, done taking care of the lords, we'll ask them to grab armor and shields. We're going in here. Everything is going to be on the line in this battle. Okay, so I still can't see. This looks like it's sort of at dawn. I need it to be at least a little bit more lit so that I have an adequate understanding of what's happening in the battle, what's happening with my units, where reinforcements are coming from. If you don't know, if you're the attacker, you can always just back off from the situation. So if you enter a battle and you just hate the setup, you can always just retreat, right? It's some people are like, well, this is cheese. No, not in this situation, because all you're doing is you're overlooking the battlefield, almost like a scout, right? Like Napoleon would frequently scout his battles out. He would take a look at the landscape, and if he didn't like him, you know, Napoleon would hit the retreat button, and his troops would regroup and fight somewhere else. So I'm gonna add a little bit of daylight here, and we'll see what it looks like.
What's the most you ever lost in a coin toss?
Under my command!
Alright, so this is an adequate amount of daylight here, and the positioning is actually pretty good. I've got this ridge, I've got a bridge, you know, a ridge and a bridge here, and we're going to position archers up here with the 3rd Cavalry in a big line of shield wall. I may not be able to leave the cavalry there for the whole battle, but we're going to do our best to block a lot of the incoming horse archer arrows with this cavalry. Now, the difficult thing here is that we're facing a combined force of Khazate and Sturgeon. And the reason that's difficult is that I think if you asked a lot of players who've played a while, you know, if they could combine 2 kingdoms, troop trees, selection trees, which kingdoms would they choose? I think a lot of people would choose the Khazate and the Sturgeons, because the Sturgeons have excellent infantry, very tough shield wall troops, very tough shock troops, and obviously the Khazate have nasty horse archers and really good cavalry. So a combination of the two is going to be very difficult here, as I'm going to have to hold back the Sturgeon infantry and the heavy cavalry of the Khazates at the same time as dealing with hundreds of fucking buzzing horse archer arrows. So very early on here, I'm going to dismount this cavalry. I'm going to basically turn these guys into foot troops because I don't have enough infantry. Look at how many Britannian Fian champs. Between the 8 or 9 different armies I was able to summon, we might have 100 Britannian Fian champs, and that's going to be tremendously valuable early in this fight. Now you notice they're all standing there like dipshits with their swords. That's intentional. We've got these guys on hold fire. Now you notice this cavalry is already slowing down troops. This guy just barreled in here, and he got stuck on this just line of dismounted horses, right? So even though the guys are off their horses, the horses still have some value here in sort of shielding slash stopping some of the enemy troops from pouring in. And pour in they come here. We're going to try to pick off as many as we can. This is not going to be like a typical battle where I sit back and do a lot of defending or a lot of commanding. I'm going to have to be fighting a lot in this battle if we're going to have any chance to win. I mean, 7,300 is just ridiculous. So this big infantry wave is going to be something that we can definitely handle, right? We've got these cavalry bunched up here on the bridge, and just like the military saying, you don't open up, you know, you don't shoot like a Civil War saying until you see the white of their eyes. We're doing the same thing here too. I opened fire when these guys were close. Holy shit, cavalry are pouring in from the side. This is unexpected. I'm going to have to make some adjustments here. Let's pull the 3rd Cavalry down, and we'll form a shield wall to sort of stem this tide of heavy cavalry coming in here. mow down some of these fucking insolent sturgeon lords, these disobedient vassals, and we'll try to stem this tide of heavy horse coming in as well. But you see what's happening, right? I've got the troops nicely bottled up on the bridge. Britannian Fian champions are just laying waste with their 2 quivers of arrows, and so far it's a pretty good start, right? If you can keep the enemy bottled up in a bridge situation like this, you can definitely achieve the kind of kill ratio we're going to need to have any chance of winning this battle. This is obviously a very temporary situation, right? Because I will run out of ammunition, and suddenly this tactic is no longer going to work. So you'll see me very intricately micromanaging my ammunition use here, right? When there's 20 or 30 enemies left, you'll see me hold fire. I'm probably not going to mention it every time I do it. I just want you to know that dynamic. In huge battles like this, you can't just have your guys firing away, right? They will waste ammo. They will shoot 300 arrows into a horse. God, they are starting to burst right through this dam. You see their infantry. This is fucking tough infantry. For some reason, there's fucking Assarai here. I have no idea where they came from. They must have been an army that was passing by and somehow got included in this battle. Nevertheless, we're going to take on all these fucks at the same time if need be. Right here on this ridge, tactically, I have my 6th, which is my high-level elite skirmishers position, and in this case, they have to fight. This is not a battle where guys can stick strictly to their roles. I've got my 6th and 8th Corps here, sort of trying to beat back this tremendous wave. And get the shield. Because if this wave starts to gain momentum on us and get up to our archers, our Britannian Fian champs, this battle's over. We're totally fucked, right? So I've got to get in here. I've got to be vicious. I've got to fight like this initial stand here might decide the battle, and I'd have to risk my 6th and 8th early on. I have a few opportunities in a long battle like this to do segues into a little bit more of my battle philosophy. Unless I'm doing major tactics, I'll have to interrupt myself. But my 6th and my 8th are where most of my elite companions are. The 6th division is designed to be skirmishers, that is units with javelins, throwing weapons, axes. Some of them actually have bows. But the design of that unit is to be used just like the old Greek skirmisher units, right? This is 2,000 years ago kind of warfare. It sort of disappeared in the medieval era until they got back to using more kind of British sniper units and skirmishers in the Napoleonic warfare era. In this case, in Bannerlord, it's tremendously valuable because these guys are firing lethal javelins into the enemy, and some of my companions have 250 plus throwing skill, which, if you don't know, allows them to literally throw their javelins right through a defending opponent. Goes right through their shield, and in many cases, one shot kills the opposition. So I'm moving them back. We're going to have some archers hold fire here. I'll try to tell you when I can. Obviously, I'm issuing so many different commands. It's not easy to organize these 8 different troops and try to illustrate what I'm doing and give you little bits and pieces of history, but I'll do the best I can. I'm on a double dose of caffeine for this battle. Sometimes in battles I find that's detrimental because my hand starts to shake later in battle. Not only is that bad for the screen, let's pull these guys back. Not only is that bad for the battle, but of course I start to become inaccurate with my attempts and throws and shots and stuff like that. So that first wave we beat back very well. These guys are fucking out of here. They're taking off like a bunch of cowards. Of course, their horse archers are still trying to do some work over here. Whenever I get an opportunity, and there may not be many, I'm going to fly in here and try to discourage their ass from shooting me here. The highest level Crusade horse archers have virtually the same skills or a little bit weaker skills, just slightly, than your Britannian Fian champions, right? So if they have 80 or 100 or 120, Khan's Guard is the unit type. On this ridge shooting at us, it's actually doing major damage to our archers at range. Right? So you'll see me flying in here, trying to execute a few of these fucking Khazate forces and then get out of there before I take too much damage. I'm going to have an archer unit here flank this bridge. Sometimes if you can get enfilade fire, enfilade basically is a fancy word for flanking. Flanking units on the side where they can sort of shoot the enemy at a different angle. It can be highly devastating to an approaching attack. I want to try to kill as many of their opponents, as many of the enemy here that's on the bridge with horses, without killing their horses. And I know that's a strange concept, but what I want is I want there to be a fucking traffic jam turnstile, New Jersey pike type traffic jam on this bridge on a regular basis. That way they can't just pour through the 700 or 800 troops that they have on the battlefield all at once. If I can sort of slow the amount of their troops coming through, that will be tremendously beneficial. Get these troops pulled back. We're suffering some losses in the pullback here. I've said this before in other battles near bridges. You don't want your troops pushing too far to the other side, because then the enemy has the tactical advantage. Your guys are coming off the bridge into their withering archer fire. Fucking look at all these guys. Fuck you. But then you're the one that has the tactical disadvantage. So we'll keep our troops on this side, maybe the whole battle. I can't actually foresee a scenario where we're going to get very aggressive. God, I just have so few infantry, and where the fuck are my reinforcements? I'm a little nervous in a battle like this. If you remember where I started, I actually started across the bridge. I'm a little worried my reinforcements will be put in across the bridge, and that'll be disastrous, right? Because I'll have a third of my forces across the bridge, totally isolated, getting waxed by the enemy. Fuck you. And then we'll be in really awful shape. It's already going to be almost impossible to win a battle like this, but if my forces are divided, then I might as well just retreat as is. So speaking of retreating, I can retreat from this battle. That's a major tactical initiative advantage of attacking a force that's in a siege. How the game mechanics work is we bring up all our forces here for another stand. Is you must attack the person that's attacking you, but if you're the person attacking somebody at a siege, they're occupied with the siege, it makes sense, right? They're busy theoretically sieging, and you have the ability to retreat with virtually no detriment to your force, right? So I don't anticipate trying to retreat, at least until it's obvious that we've lost or we win this battle, but I have that option in the back of my head, knowing that if say, for example, my reinforcements are put across the bridge there and I'm fucked, I will have to retreat. Right now, it feels like we have a chance of winning this. Right now, I'm dragging the 8th Corps. I just put them into charge. A lot of times, I'll drag this bodyguard unit around with me. Oh, here come reinforcements. All right, so we're going to get these guys spread out on our right flank. At least they're putting them in. It's not a great spot, but they're putting them in far down that bank. At least they're not putting them in on the same side the enemy's main forces are. Every guy has fucking 3 guys on him. I still got them jammed up lovely on the bridge here, and I'm starting to get reinforcements. It looked grim there for a second when for some reason there were no reinforcements, but this is 50. This is 130 troops. I've got some archers in there. I've got my archers actually in melee right now because it was becoming such a difficult issue at the bridge here. I wasn't able to stem the tide. As soon as I have the opportunity, I'm going to pull these guys back, and hopefully they have some arrows left. And these guys, reinforcements, they are taking a while to get here. So it's a delay problem, right? I'm getting the reinforcements, they're on the right side, but it took those guys like 45 seconds, maybe a minute, to sort of join the fray. And I need this infantry to jam up this bridge. The more I have my archers in here fighting, the more problematic it is. I've got a nice archer flank here. These guys I'm going to spread out here on the right flank. They'll be able to provide some enfilade fire. Trying not to kill these horses. Let's get these archers back out of there. And Battalion Fiend Champs do a pretty good job of melee, but they're much more deadly at range. And of course, if I have other infantry I can send in, I'd much rather send in this other infantry division than use my Battalion Fiend Champs in combat. Let's try to jam this bridge up again. It's just a fucking wasteland of bodies. I mean, it feels like I'm trudging through blood and limbs and dead people, from both of our sides. So 6th and 8th Corps are stemming the bridge briefly. Let's get this infantry up here. I'm going to try to wedge this bridge up again and then get my ranged forces back so that we can continue the side enfilade attacks. Well, there's a brief break in the hysteria, the chaos of this battle. I've got my infantry wedging in there. Let's get my 4th and 5th back up on that hill. I can tell people who've never seen a battle before a little bit about our 8th Corps. My 8th Corps I used just like a lot of medieval and early modern period militaries used an elite reserve corps. Napoleon had what were called his Old Guard, and these guys wore these big gnarly bearskin hats that were like 2 feet tall. Kind of looks stupid to us today, but I assure you, if you met this corps of highly grizzled experienced, savage, veterans on the battlefield, and they were wearing these bear caps. You wouldn't think they looked stupid then, because these guys were savages. Most of them were tall. Most of them were very nasty fighters. Of course, back then, they did shoot their muskets pretty well, but they also engaged in a lot of hand-to-hand, right? Bayonets like the Civil War. And this elite unit of Old Guards, Napoleon would bring at critical times into the battle to both intimidate the enemy, because psychological warfare is a big part of war, but also to turn the tide, right? If it was a tight battle, if it was a close battle, and all he needed to do was add this one single devastating unit to that battle, he would send in the Old Guard. They would eventually go in, and in several battles they made key decisive attacks. Ironically, at the Battle of Waterloo, hopefully it's not a spoiler for anybody who's sort of following the progress of Napoleon's career, they eventually were actually repulsed and fled at the Battle of Waterloo against the English. The army of Wellington, of the British, were able basically to apply enough pressure that the Old Guard of Napoleon basically fled the field, and that was kind of it for Napoleon. In our case, it's very similar. So my 8th Corps is comprised mostly of companions, high-level family members. A lot of these units are almost as strong as this character, right? This character is level 50. A lot of my companions are like level 45, 48. They have very high, very strong combat skills, and of course, over the years of gameplay, not years, but game years of gameplay, I've acquired them an amazing, more reinforcements coming in here. Let's see, that's infantry. I'll bring those guys up. I'm moving them in line formation because they move faster in line formation. Anyways, my 8th Corps, these guys are decked out in great armor. Some of them have custom weapons from my grandfather character, who was a smith. And they form, a 40 or 50 person reserve corps that I use at critical moments in the battle to swing the battle, or in this case, to hold back at a critical moment. Right, we're at a very critical moment here. Their infantry, their cavs starting to push over. My reinforcements are delayed. I've actually got to make sure that these reinforcements don't engage on the other side of the river. The AI will take, like water, the AI will take the path of least resistance. And so if your troops are closer to the enemy on the other side of the bridge here, they will simply go attack the enemy on the other side, right? So you're going to see me having to micromanage my reinforcements. It's getting very thin. Let's see, 120. So I've got 50 or 60 troops. That's all that's left here, and 120 reinforcements. So this is pretty dire at this moment, right? I've got these forces jammed up on the bridge. I see a lot of death spam. God, I just took a nasty spear to the head. Fuck you. I see a lot of death spam. That's not good. At this stage, we need to be achieving a 4 or 5 kill rate per enemy to have any chance of winning this. Oh shit! Slow-mo spear dodge. I feel like Neo in the Matrix when it's slow-mo. How did you move like that? Well, I used slow-mo on Bannerlord. So we got this bridge jammed up nicely. These reinforcements are fucking taking their sweet ass time. These guys they're going to be cutting rations for the next 2 weeks for this shit. These guys obviously ate too much before this battle. These guys are all on a carb fucking overload. Get your fucking asses up here. It's an archer wing and an infantry wing. And we're going to put these guys to work as fast as we can. I'm already thinking of contingency plans. The beauty of that sunrise is making me think of contingency plans. More accurately, I'm looking at that hill. Another tactic I can use here if I have to pull back is to use a ridge, is to use a hill line ridge where the enemy doesn't have great line of sight. Pull back to that ridge and then try to attack the enemy from a position where their archers don't have very strong effect. Right there, they have to come over the ridge to be able to shoot and approach our enemy or approach our allies. And these ridges here, you've probably seen me do this in other battles. These ridges here provide that opportunity. I'm going to have to do it right here, in fact. You can see the bridge now. The defense here is completely broken down. I'm going to send this infantry wave in here and try and delay them. I don't know, I might be able to regain this ridge, but look how many horse archers have gotten through. The battle has now kind of broken down into a chaotic phase here. It almost seems like I'm outnumbered 10-1. I'm getting some good death spam from the bridge. You fucking assholes. Fuck you and your horse archers. But I'm going to have to try to set up a new defensive line down this hill a little bit. This is fucking Aserai in here. I might go raise a few Aserai castles and behead a few Aserai lords just for the fact that they happen to be in this battle. I mean, I know they're my enemy too, but where the fuck did they come from in this battle? What the fuck is this? I've got enemy infantry on our side of the bridge. I don't know if they chased my troops all the way up here, but at this stage we're in a very bad situation. I've got the enemy all over the place. I'm having a hard time, honestly, trying to think of where I should make a defensive line. This ridge to the left here is not really steep enough, keeping the bridge jammed up. Let's try one more attempt here to establish some archers on this wall. I may have to shift tactics, and that's the whole purpose of this freestyle series, is to show you the rolling tactical decisions you have to make. God, they're just shoving right through. The rolling tactical decisions you may have to make in battles that are very long like this, very challenging, and your initial tactics or even your second or third attempt at tactics, we're getting steamrolled. Fail. You have to change your tactics. That bitch took 300 fucking hit points. So she's obviously also got very high level lords. That's all I needed in this battle, was also to be facing, the elite troops of the enemy. With my ally force just fucking dissolved right here. I'm literally, this feels like the scene in Braveheart where Wallace is running from a bunch of angry guys, and I need a horse to come rushing in here to save me from fucking certain death. At times it's felt like we could win this battle. Now I'm sure we're going to lose this battle. It's a steamroller. I'm not giving up just yet. We've got health, a little bit of health. We've got some resolve. There is a little bottleneck here between these rocks. Where the fuck are my infantry? So I got the 8th Corps. I've got 50 infantry. Let's bring those guys up. Look at my reinforcements are like fucking way far away. If I can get some archers established here and a little bit of bottleneck sort of jammed in here against these rocks, maybe at least I can slow the enemy down. You've heard me talk about it before. One of the ways you can decrease an enemy's numeric value is to fight in a narrow place, right? And that's the whole concept of the Battle of Thermopylae. I think that's the pronunciation of it, where the Spartans held off, supposedly like millions of Persians. Realistically, it was more like, several hundred guys or a few thousand guys demoralized the millions of Persians, or at least the hundreds of thousands of Persians. Unlike the movie or other mythical suggestions, they obviously didn't kill 1 million guys with 300 people. That's a nice concept, but that's pure fairy tale. Still, in a similar situation here, if we have elite troops and good strong troops and tactics, if we can hold this bottleneck here, and no sooner than I say that, we're starting to give it up, then maybe you can face the enemy on somewhat even terms, right? If they can only have 10 or 15 guys abreast in a narrow area like a bridge, we're just going to have to keep pulling back here. Then you have some chance, right? Because it's still 15 on 20. Fucking Aserai in here still. 15 on 20 against 15 on 20, right? You got nice even odds, even if behind them they have 3 or 4 times your numbers. I have no doubt that we're outnumbered 3 or 4 times still. Going to send these infantry in. We're going to send this cavalry in. I've got a nice archer block here, another tranche of archers. I can't spread them out on this bridge for some reason. I'd love to get them spread out on that bridge. We're sending these infantry in. For once we have some green death spam. That's probably because the enemy at this stage is overextended. We're going to try to push in here and do some work, try to push them back. Cut off a few fucking heads of this dastardly force and see if we can't regain the momentum. I see lots of green death spam. It's encouraging, just like my troops. I've got a morale meter, right, and I get disheartened in battles. It's a video game, but of course I'm trying to win. I'm trying to succeed. I take a lot of pride in trying to succeed. Of course, if you start to lose battles, it's amazing how it affects your own morale. So we're going to keep positive here. We got some fucking murdering going on here. This ridge is working nicely. We've got melee in the face of their archers, which is the value of this ridge. Right? You see the rest of their troops have to come over this ridge to attack us, and we're going to try to establish a defensive line here. Archers are in the back there. They got a huge amount of troops across the bridge. Those archers should be able to sort of repulse, at least, or do a lot of damage to the guys across the bridge. Let's use this ridge here. See this lower ridge here? The enemy on that bridge will have to come over this. In fact, I've used this exact ridge in episodes like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was facing a large force. They were barreling over this bridge. You can see the raised elevation side over there on the left. They can shoot down on us, so we can't really hold the bridge here very well because they have an elevational advantage on our archers. Not to mention we're outnumbered fucking hugely. These guys are still trickling in from the left flank. Fuck you. So I'm going to try to jam up this bridge, and then we're going to use this lower ridge here. Got a nice spot here. Let's let these archers take some shots here. Some death spam. We've got the bridge choked up. Let's fly in here with my troops and see if we can do a little heroic fucking murder. Fucking more Aserai. Fuck you. Aserai fucking scum. Killing horses by accident. Mostly green death spam. Maybe we can turn this battle. They're down to tier 4 troops mostly. I see some tier 5, but mostly 4. Oh, these guys are stubborn with their shields. Fuck you. Having a little flurry here. While we have the advantage, the tactical advantage. They're being shot on the bridge, and our guys are flying in with melee. I'm getting reinforcements beautifully right behind them. 6, 7. God, they have another 500 reinforcements coming now. This is going to be just a fucking endless epic battle. Back and forth we go. The enemy gets the advantage, we take the advantage. We got some heavy cav coming in here. Some of these cav are nice and high units. So let's continue to try to hold this ridge. I'm worried that the enemy will start coming in again on that left flank. That's a much worse approach, a much harder defense for us. We're going to put a cavalry wall there and shield wall. Hopefully slow down some of their incoming heavy cav, and then watch this bridge. Try to see what enemy approach is going to be next. See what we got going on. Yeah, see they're pouring over fucking both bridges. It's good artificial intelligence here. I'm going to try to bottleneck that same rock spot I was talking about earlier. Yeah, I see enemies coming across both bridges. This is one of the most unique battle maps in the game, with the 2 or 3, maybe it's 4 different bridges. You get many different opportunities to exercise. You get some more javelins here. Many different opportunities to try different tactics, different approaches. Of course, it'd be amazing to play this head-to-head versus a real human opponent, because there'd be constant sort of a cat and mouse game between the 2 or 3 different bridges. You'd want to be flanking. The enemy's actually doing a decent job here of trying to flank. You have a huge force coming down there. I have infantry down there, and we jam this up now with cavalry. We're going to send our cavalry down here and see if we can't jam that bridge up, because those guys, if they get stuck on the bridge, this archer block, I've got this archer block kind of in the middle, and that's purposeful so that they can shoot both incoming troops, right? Both directional attacks by the enemy here. Again, we're using some tactics to try to counter what the enemy's doing. That's really all tactics are, right? The tactics is the art of detecting, understanding, deciphering what the enemy is doing, and then countering that with your own move. It's a game of chess. We fly in here again to fucking try to push back this wave. More green death spam. We're making up for earlier losses here. It's fucking so epic with good music. That bridge is ours. Fuck you, enemies. They're pouring through on the left flank, though, and this is a problem. They're sending in heavy cavalry waves. Fuck you. Fuck you, too. Let's get our archers pulled down here. I'm going to start to concentrate my forces here. We'll set up a cavalry wave. I see you coming in, motherfucker. Yeah. Yeah, you only got a glancing blow. I got some slow-mo Neo shit. Blocked your ass. So we're going to set up a ridge defense here. I've got archers down on this little valley. Eventually we can put our heavy horse in a line up at the top here. Put our infantry. Now it is going to allow the enemy to concentrate their forces. Right? Concentrate, in other words, attack us with all of their forces at once, because the guys coming across the bridge will be able to attack, and their forces coming over from the left flank will be able to attack. But still, oh shit, flying horse. If you haven't noticed, I always like to give you a little peek at flying horses. I just think it's a hilarious game. You can call it a glitch. I like it as a feature. I think some chaotic physics making a game interesting, even if it's a little unrealistic. So you'll always see me focus in on a horse. Anyways, to finish that point, I think concentrated fire in this situation by the enemy is the lesser of two evils, right? I either have to, holy shit, that's a lot of enemy infantry pouring down that hill. Why aren't you guys fucking firing? Maybe they're out of arrows already. That's a problem. Like, if I'm already out of arrows and the enemy's bearing down on us, it really just devolves into a 3 or 4 to 1 ratio of enemy troops barreling in on my one unit. And that's a major problem. They're pushing right through this cavalry. Rejoin the battle. Fucking behead you bitches. I think you got to play a little angry in big battles like this, right? Now you have to control that anger, right? The samurais were masters at basically controlling their emotions, so that, I mean, they actually saw it as an enormous weakness, as I do, right? If you think about the philosophy of emotions and the primitive side of the human brain, these guys are just pouring into our archers. You want to be able to control your anger, because you almost never make, both in games and in real life, because you almost never make good decisions. Sorry, I had to fix that. I think I had some kind of error with my system. You almost never make good decisions with your anger, right? When you're angry, you make rash decisions, you make poor decisions. People road rage, they kill their wife, when they're cheating on them. Much better just to divorce her and move on, right? Rather than spend the rest of your life in federal pound in the ass prison. So I'm channeling my anger here into my sword work, or at least trying to, right? Channeling it into some swear words. These fucking guys are just relentless. Fuck you. And we're going to try to basically use that anger in a fight. That's another very old war quote. And it's basically, anger is only useful in a fight, right? The rest of the time you make bad decisions. You make financial decisions or relationships decisions in anger, that I can almost assure you they will be bad decisions. So I can't actually tell what the fuck, where my reinforcements are, where the enemy is. You can't make any decisions until you understand the battlefield. For some reason, they've put a lot of my reinforcements way up here. That might be because the enemy was hemming me in down there. So again, we're going to shift. We're going to have some rolling tactics here and pull these guys at least to this side of the bridge. In a battle like this, if you're strung out, you're fucked, right? We're going to try to retake this ridge up here. If this feels like a deja vu, it's because that's where we started this battle. We're going to basically continue to shift our troops. You suffer some losses on the retreat, right? When you're moving troops around, the enemy, look at, they're chasing after my guys. But in situations like this, it's way better to suffer some losses on a retreat than to have a devastating battle where you're spread out and the enemy just sort of picks you apart. The enemy now is actually widely spread out over these two different areas, over that ridge behind us, and it looks like they're going to be pouring across this bridge still. It's a very bad situation for us because we can't necessarily strictly defend the bridge here, but we have this elevational advantage, this little hill here. I've got some mounted archers, I've got some regular archers. I wish I had more archers. I've got 70 heavy cavalry. I wish I had like 30 cavalry, but this is the game mechanics, this is what we have, so we're going to do the very best with what we have. Putting my horse archers up on this ridge as well. We're going to try to hold this bridge again in yet another last stand. We've had like 4 last stands all in this same battle. Right? I told you at the beginning to expect an epic battle. 7,300. I don't know if I've ever even heard of that many people fighting in a battle in Bannerlord before. At least in a normal campaign like this. And I say normal campaign. It isn't a normal campaign. Part of the reason there are so many enemies is I'm fighting everybody. Not only fighting everybody. This is just chaos. Fighting everybody, but I'm also very late game. Right? So a lot of these kingdoms are mature. They've got citadels with very high prosperity. A lot of their lords are probably level 30 and 40. And so this is obviously, it is an unusual situation. You probably, people ask me sometimes, well, how come I don't see 7,000 troops? Well, play the game as often as I have for a year and a half. The same campaign, sort of trudge your way through, and you'll see some similar battles. For me, it's been very enjoyable to have this very nasty challenge. For about the first 2 real-life months of this campaign, I just played it out like normal. I was a vassal of Sturgia. I eventually became independent, and then once I started to take over the map, I sort of had seen that movie before. I had its first successful campaign a year and a half ago, and I decided to add this additional challenge of fighting everybody except Sturgia. And what I've got from that is this incredible challenge, but it dovetails perfectly with the fact that I want challenges. I want to be able to exercise tactics, and you get epic fucking battles like this. This guy, fuck you. Somebody kill this fucking guy. Thank you. So the enemies gain the bridge here. I've got reinforcements. I'm going to try to bring these reinforcements behind the enemy here. Not very often are my reinforcements being placed in ideal situations, but in here they're in a pretty good situation. Fucking, is this the same fucking guy? What did I do? Fuck your wife or something? Get the fuck out of here. Alright, these guys here, just got to pick off some of these stragglers that have made their way through. The archers are having a really hard time setting up, right? They have so many troops, they can attack the bridge, they can bring people on the on the flanks, and still have enough troops to barrel in and attack our archers. The death spam is going badly, right? You can view that as sort of a gauge of a decision of when you need to make changes, right? I'm gonna try to make some tactical decisions here because the battle is starting to slip on us again. Sometimes I don't even know what those tactical decisions are until I see an opportunity. Right? That's one of the keys to being a really good field commander, is being able to constantly assess the battlefield, sort of understand the feel, get a feel for how things are going, and then make changes if things are not going well. Right? Things are going well, you don't have to change a thing. Right? Your strategy's working. It's like being in a marriage. If you're in marriage counseling, the reason is because you need to make changes. You need to adjust something. You can't just stick to the status quo. You need to try to adjust things when things aren't going right. So we're going to bring our forces down here. I think we'll try to concentrate again on that ridge, but only if we can fight through here. Of course, at this stage, I'm getting pretty close to being out of the battle. I've got to be a little bit more defensive. I don't know if there's another 5 minutes in this battle or a 20-minute, half hour, but we're going to try to fight this out to the last. I've never fought a battle, obviously, this size, so it's just is going to seem never-ending. 112 archers. I got some cav, 80 infantry. I think we're going to be able to set up a nice line here again on this ridge. My units are going to take a little bit of time to get into place, but once they do, I'll have archers shooting up this hill. I've got some horse archers. I've got some heavy cav. I've got a nice infantry line that I can drag across here. And so what happens is the enemy's going to come over this ridge and get shot to fucking pieces by our archers. Right? They will be shot in the face as soon as they come over the ridge. I've used this tactic before in other series. I call it a peekaboo ridge because as soon as they peek their head up over that ridge, it's like that whack-a-mole game in amusement parks where you try to smash all the heads that are popping up. That's basically what we're going to try to do here. Of course, we're also concentrating our forces. I probably will be holding the infantry and cavalry in place, but if I do see an opportunity, we'll be counter-charging, counter-punching. I've got some weak horse archers in here, not too worried about that. Okay, their infantry is in hot pursuit of our infantry. Our archers, you can see the arrows flying right over the head of our infantry, right? That's helpful. Now they do have a lot of shield wall there, so we're going to have to fight this head-to-head. Arrows don't have a lot of effect on shield wall, but those horses behind them, those guys are going to get shot off their mounts. Let's get in here and make a fucking vicious last stand. 80 against 287 infantry. Sure. Fuck you. Let's do it. Send in the horse archers. We'll send in the cavalry. I'm down to a sliver of life. Can't really tell who's winning. It's super tight. I gotta keep these guys off our archers. Keep these javelin throwers the fuck out. Come on! They've got archers established on that hilltop, so we're sort of trading blows there. I need more reinforcements again. If this is my last unit, we're fucked. I've got like 20 infantry here trying to hold back the storm. Ain't gonna work. There we go. Okay, nice big archer block. I've got 50 infantry. I gotta get these guys into place in a hurry. 21 cavalry. Okay. I'm gonna start using my shield more. At this stage, if I take an arrow to the face, that's it. Well, we held off that wave, but anybody want to bet me a quarter that there's more coming? I mean, we've just left graveyards over multiple places in this battlefield. Yeah, you ran into a tree, buddy. That was your last move. I say that, it's kind of ironic because this character's father was killed in a battle where he ran into a tree in a critical battle and got shot in the neck and killed. I run a mod that increases death for the nobles, including my own character. So there's always a sense of greater sort of danger, greater intensity to the battles, right? The vanilla version of Bannerlord, there's not a lot of death. Now, I wouldn't encourage people to use this early on because you only have 3 or 4 companions, right? If they're dying in every other battle, pretty soon you're like all by yourself again, sitting at a tavern, wishing that you hadn't installed the mod. But when I have 40 or 50 companions like this, I think it makes for even more epic feel to these battles if you have a higher rate of death. I'm actually getting hungry fighting this battle. I've been fighting this battle so long, I need some lunch. But we're going to play this out. Yeah, one more horse runs into me like that too. That's going to be curtains. I probably will let the AI play out this battle if I get dropped. I'm really hoping that the enemy all of a sudden starts to run. If you can break their morale, you don't have to kill all their troops. They will just leave the battlefield, right? I don't know how many more enemy are coming. I don't bring up the status window because I like the suspense of not knowing whether the enemy is about to break or whether the enemy is totally crushing us and I just have no idea. I like that drama. Hopefully people watching and following my campaign enjoy that aspect of it. I'm going to keep doing it. A short aside into morale, this is a very real thing, right? In most battles throughout human history, you didn't annihilate the enemy, right? There's this assumption kind of from movies and basically misunderstanding of battle history that in battles throughout history, one side annihilated, killed almost all of the enemy troops. Well, that's definitely not the case. That happened occasionally, very rarely. Usually, though, it was a massacre after the battle, right? The winning side would come in. One of the sides would surrender, hoping that like normal, there'd be some level of mercy for surrendering troops, sort of an etiquette of war. And then occasionally the winning side would massacre, kill all of the surrendering troops, right? This has happened a little bit more recently as honor has sort of receded and total war has taken over. But nevertheless, in ancient combat battles, the morale broke when you'd have 15 or 20% casualties. And I don't mean deaths, I mean total people injured and killed. So just to give you an example, in the Napoleonic era, the Battle of Borodino was a vicious battle during the Napoleonic campaign and the 1812 campaign into Russia. It's an amazing campaign to read about. There's a book called 1812, which I highly recommend. In this situation, it was an incredibly bloody battle, sort of this pitched culminating battle of the campaign, in which the Russians lost about 30% of their forces, killed, injured, or captured, and Napoleon maybe lost 25% of their forces. And this was considered an astonishingly, incredibly bloody unusual battle in the fact that there were so many casualties. So think about that. That means roughly 3/4 of the troops from both sides weren't just not killed, they weren't even injured, right? 3/4 of them just went home with some powder burns on their fingers from shooting their musket 40 times, and that was that, right? So, in other words, what happened in the Battle of Borodino is that 30 or 40%, it was more like 35% casualties for the Russians, was enough for them to say no more. I mean, the battle actually ended because of daylight. Both armies had fought for 12 hours. They were exhausted as I fight back this just a fucking tide of enemy. I don't know how I'm still standing. I've gotten some fortunate guys coming in to protect me here. Anyways, though, the point is, if you can break the enemy's morale, just like in Bannerlord, just like in real life, I'm about to get dropped. You guys are all over me. Fuck you. If you can break the enemy morale, you don't have to fight them all. That horse just fucking ran me over. I'm going to let the AI play out this battle. This has been such an epic battle. From the status bar up there, you can judge sort of the lengths of the orange and the blue. The status bar says we have no chance, but sometimes reinforcements pop in, and that gets readjusted. It's far from an accurate perspective of what's happening, because if you just look at that right now, if you looked at the death spam, you'd say, okay, we have 0% chance to win this battle. But I've seen battles where it looked like this, and in come reinforcements, right? I should get reinforcements, and I mean, unless I'm out. This is lots of militia. That's a problem. Sometimes, though, those bars will change. All of a sudden, that orange bar will get long, and then you'll have the advantage, and you can actually win a battle where you retreated and left because you weren't quite patient enough. So remember, again, I'm going to retreat here in this battle if it's clear that we're going to lose. It's starting to look like we're going to lose. One of the things that I didn't really factor in, and of course, it was in the back of my mind, but when you're helping to defend a citadel like I was doing here, we were outnumbered something like 7,300 to 2,400, 2,500. But that's also including the castle defenders that came out to sally out in this attack. They've got a nice archer line here and infantry. It still looks like a hopeless battle, but I'm going to let it play out a few more minutes. The point, though, is that even though it was 2,500 versus 7,500, maybe 400 of the troops in that 2,500 that I had were these pathetic little militia. You see the guys dying. It's Imperial infantry. It's Sturgeon warriors. It's militia. Imperial militia spearmen. These are the lowest level troops just about in the game. So that 2,500 that we have was actually even weaker because of the strength of the troops that were left. Right, I've got mostly infantry and mostly militia fighting at this stage. So it's probably hopeless, but again, I'm going to let it play out just in case the enemy's also on their very last legs. Right, we're getting some kills. They've actually got a decent formation right there. What's this here? This is enemy pouring in. That's bad because those guys are going to get sandwiched. The battle is totally all over the place. 3 different fucking locations. It looks fatal. Because those guys down there in that bridge are dead. But you see how they're getting sandwiched. These guys are going to all get creamed. And the guys at that upper bridge look like they're in bad shape. So I'm going to retreat here. I told you earlier that's one of the advantages of taking the initiative here. Let's see, 40. God, we killed 4,200, 5,200, 5,300. And we're down 2,000. So this is the first time I've checked the status bar. 5,300. That means they still have fucking 2,000 units, and we're down to like 5, 6, maybe not even 5, 600, 400. This battle is over. People are sometimes shocked that I share epic battles like this. I think this is more enemy reinforcements. I like to share losses sometimes with the viewer because there are some people that have expressed earnest interest and desire in watching the campaign, kind of like any other fiction book or drama about an underdog situation, right? We all love an underdog, whether it's Cinderella story, the movie of boxers, or J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Ring. So in this instance, I like to show defeats. That way the watcher who's viewing these battles on YouTube is never sure whether or not we're going to win. And in this case, despite a valiant effort, we're going to have to retreat. So 200, we only have 200 guys left. Again, the nice advantage is we can simply say, we leave, we're out of here. We're going to drag our wounded. That part's not quite realistic, right? If the battle was still raging, Let's get into auto-save in here. If the battle was still raging, you would obviously not be able to say, okay, hey fellas, why don't you focus on that castle siege? We're going to drag all our wounded here, and maybe we'll fight you in a couple weeks, right? That's not very realistic. This gal's now she's able to weave her way through here and join our forces. I've got more castles under siege. I hope you enjoyed this battle. There's a small chance that I actually return to fight these fucks. I've got this citadel right here. I might try to gather some reinforcements. And see if I can call in another army or two. And then have a sequel to this battle and try to gain revenge. Still getting deserters. So stay tuned for that. I've got a large garrison here. If I do that, I'm probably going to break this into 2 parts. Nobody's going to probably sit through an hour and a half video on Bannerlord. So stay tuned. Again, like usual, please comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you fellas next time.